I'm Jack Carson, 35, regional sales director for a tech firm nobody outside conference room folklore has heard of, and the undisputed champion of collecting half-used hotel shampoos. If corporate travel were an Olympic event, I'd have more gold than Fort Knox and probably the same suspicious back pain. Life on the road is a montage, jolting awake to gate change alerts, memorizing every menu item ending in artisanal, and perfecting the power nap between taxi takeoff and beverage service. Home, meanwhile, became a place I visited the way tourists visit national landmarks, quickly, humbly, and usually holding a souvenir coffee. Despite our different schedules, mine dictated by jet fuel, hers by Pinterest boards, we'd always found rhythm. We celebrated anniversaries via FaceTime, clinked champagne flutes 30,000 feet apart, and kept a shared Google Doc called Stuff We'll Actually Do Someday. Entry number 3 was take a cooking class together so Jack stops thinking microwaving counts as searing. Yet beneath the cheerful suburban veneer lurked tension none of our friends could see. Melissa wanted roots, kids, pottery wheels, the whole HGTV bingo card. I, still intoxicated by lounge upgrades and airline miles that could circle the moon, postponed permanence with optimistic lines like, just one more big quarter, babe. The distance between us was measured not in miles, but in unopened conversations. It turns out silence accrues interest. We met 7 years earlier at a co-worker's barbecue, where Melissa saved me from choking on a jalapeno popper by slapping my back, so hard neighbors applauded. I was dazzled by her decisiveness. She found my near-fatal snack panic adorably inefficient. Our dating greatest hits included a disastrous camping trip that ended with lightning welding the hood of my Civic shut, a pottery class where my bowl collapsed into clay linguine, and a mutual pledge never to refer to each other as bae. The honeymoon period was bright, messy, and peppered with road trips during which we pretended greasy roadside diners were Michelin-star experiences. After a year, we pooled bonuses and bought the Blue Craftsman on Sycamore, telling anyone who'd listen that we'd fill it with kids who'd leave Legos on stairs and fingerprints on windows. We painted the spare bedroom a neutral yellow for the future. The future, however, kept waiting in the wings while my career hogged the spotlight. My dad, retired Air Force, fluent in stoic understatement, once warned, son, you can't hug a promotion. I nodded solemnly, then hugged the promotion anyway. Melissa tolerated the first wave of absences, then the second. When third and fourth waves rolled in like tide, she started following minimalism blogs titled Declutter Your Life, Declutter Your Soul. I should have noticed that the house she wanted to declutter most urgently was me. Despite that stormy subtext, outwardly we looked prosperous. Nice cars, smiling holiday cards, and an attic full of empty moving boxes, just in case. What I failed to grasp was that just in case had quietly morphed into just about over. Tuesday before last, my silence cashed out. I was in Atlanta, giving a presentation about predictive analytics to a room full of executives who considered synergy an actionable metric. The day went fine. Nobody fell asleep hard enough to snore, and I retreated to the airport Marriott to reward myself with a $6 soda and the heat lamp burger that came with it. Halfway through my celebratory mediocrity, my phone buzzed. Melissa's name. I thought, a selfie of waffles, maybe a request for that cheese I can never pronounce. Instead I read, I sold a house today. Moving in with someone else. He's better than you in bed. Please don't come back. No emojis. No pasiva agresiva exclamation marks. Just raw text like a scalpel. For 10 seconds I stared, so hard the screen dimmed on me. My first coherent thought was ridiculously practical. Did she remember to forward the mail? The second was a punchline. If he's better in bed, wouldn't she be busy instead of texting? Humor is my default life jacket, so I typed, good luck, you too. Don't forget to water the cactus. Then, because one immature retort deserves another, I added the cactus emoji, the thumbs up emoji, and an airplane for thematic consistency. I waited for a follow-up explaining it was a prank. It never came. The burger went cold while my brain reheated every argument we'd shelved. Between bites of what tasted like cardboard-covered betrayal, a strange calmness settled over me. Maybe shock, maybe the result of years of flight, delays, training me to endure anything. I decided 3 things. 1. Eat fries because you never plot on an empty stomach. 2. Freeze the joint accounts before she redecorated with my retirement. 3. Don't let Waffles end up wearing a rhinestone hoodie. I considered calling her right away, but the background noise in the hotel bar sounded like a Blender Pro wrestling a lawnmower. Instead, I paced the carpet that smelled of industrial-strength cologne, rehearsing lines that ping-ponged between indignation and pathetic bargaining. A cocktail waitress asked if I wanted anything stronger. "Do you sell new realities by the glass?" I quipped. She did not. Unable to sleep, I wandered to the business center at 1 a.m., logged into our mortgage account, and confirmed the unthinkable. The balance was zeroed out and a payout marked wire transfer, same day. Melissa had really pulled the trigger. Rage arrived late, wearing confusion's jacket. I typed an angry email, deleted it, typed a sad one, deleted that too, and eventually opened a spreadsheet to track my feelings because that's what data geeks do when life refuses to fit into a pivot table. The spreadsheet had 3 columns: emotion, intensity, and number of swear words avoided. It filled quickly. Before catching a red eye, I tried one last Hail Mary video call. It rang twice, then voicemail, her upbeat greeting from healthier days, inviting callers to leave some sunshine after the beep. I left a thundercloud instead, saying I hoped the new guy owned decent Wi-Fi because he'd need Google to spell fiduciary. Childish, but cathartic. On the flight, the cabin lights dimmed to a moody indigo. The stranger beside me introduced himself as a sleep study volunteer eager to practice. He succeeded. I spent 3 hours trapped between his shoulder and existential dread, fantasizing about lawsuits and the sweet taste of vindication pie. Each scenario ended with Melissa realizing her grave error in a slow-motion montage set to 80s power ballads. I allowed myself that cinematic indulgence. I had nothing else to savor besides a bag of pretzels and a cup of grievances. At dawn, I marched through Hartsfield-Jackson with carry-on in tow, a man on a mission fueled by spite and airport espresso. I snagged the first flight home and spent it outlining Operation Boomerang in a battered notebook. Secure Finance. Verify legality of sale. Outmaneuver new guy. Henceforth codenamed Trent because statistics say 30% of self-described lifestyle coaches are named Trent. Reclaim house and dignity, preferably before my cactus died. Simple steps, but I annotated each with arrows, doodles, and a motivational quote from Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try. When your life resembles reality TV, you might as well storyboard it. Touchdown in Denver at 9:37 a.m. I rented a sedan that smelled like teenage body spray and drove straight to the bank, practicing my speech. Joint accounts are paradoxical, built on trust, protected by paranoia. The manager, a beige blazer man named Gordon, listened as I recited Melissa's message verbatim, minus bedroom review. Forging a spouse's signature and siphoning marital assets triggers an automatic fraud hold, something Gordon explained with a sympathetic nod and the same tone doctors use to deliver unfortunate test results. 5 shocked keystrokes later, every account bearing Melissa's name became as liquid as cold molasses. Step 2. Legal cavalry. Nate Russell and I survived freshman dorm life. He became a real estate attorney, and I perfected eating ramen with hotel coffee makers. His office had floor-to-ceiling books and a vintage pinball machine. Nate grinned like a wolf who smelled litigation money. She used a forged power of attorney? Oh, buddy, that's the legal equivalent of leaving fingerprints at the scene while live streaming. We drafted an emergency injunction faster than you can say title insurance. The bank episode went smoother than anticipated, largely because Gordon the manager thrived on drama so long as it arrived wrapped in compliance. He walked me through forms with the glee of someone browsing a clearance sale. Each click of his mouse felt like a tiny justice drumbeat. When he finally stamped the freeze order, he offered me a lollipop, which I accepted. Victory tastes like artificial cherry. Across town, Nate printed subpoenas while balancing a burrito in one hand. Forge once, shame on you. Forge twice, shame on the notary, he mused between bites. I signed retainer agreements, my own signature suddenly looking suspicious under fluorescent lights. Paperwork towered. Nate's assistant, Kayla, labeled folders with color codes. Red for urgent, yellow for background, green for anything that might produce monetary damages. She winked and said, "We love green." During downtime, I conducted reconnaissance. Trent's digital footprint was a Bigfoot trail of exaggerated success stories. LinkedIn listed him as executive mindset architect. Translation: he sold webinars promising abundance to people already swiping credit cards for self-worth. His Instagram live from that morning featured him advising followers to detox from negative attachments. Minutes before dumping my wife apparently counted as a practical demonstration. Comment section reactions range from heart emojis to a lone user asking, "Bro, why are you shirtless in November?" Armed with this character study, I felt prepared for any face-to-face clash, but my biggest foe remained time. Fraud hearings require urgency, yet the court's calendar was busier than a Starbucks line at dawn. Nate pulled favors, traded future golf invitations, and squeezed us into Friday's docket. I spent Wednesday night drafting a 3-page impact statement chronicling emotional distress, financial risk, and a bullet list titled, "Reasons Texting is a Bad Way to Sever Marriage." By morning, the bullet list had footnotes. To burn nervous energy, I attempted yoga via a hotel television program hosted by an alarmingly cheerful instructor whose voice suggested helium addiction. I managed 3 poses before cramping like a pretzel under hydraulic pressure. Lying face down on the carpet, I promised the universe that if I survived court, I'd hire a personal trainer more qualified than YouTube autoplay. The night before court, adrenaline refused to let me sleep, so I drafted a fictional closing argument worthy of a legal drama. Picture me striding toward the jury, even though civil fraud hearings in our county feature only a judge, slamming down the forged power of attorney like it was Excalibur, proclaiming, "This document is not merely ink on paper, Your Honor. It is the smoking gun of betrayal." I practiced in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting my tie until it almost strangled my ego. At 3 a.m., my stomach reminded me that rage burns calories. I raided the motel vending machine, returning with a dinner that glowed faintly in the dark. As I crunched neon chips, a commercial advertised couples counseling retreats in scenic cabins. I laughed so hard I startled the ice machine into gurgling. Somewhere in that laughter, I realized I wasn't mourning the loss of Melissa. I was mourning the version of me that needed her approval. Whatever the judge ruled, I had already shed a skin. Court day unfolded like tightly scripted theater. Security guards scanned my briefcase with ceremonial gravitas, as though Nate's binders concealed explosives instead of glossy page dividers. In the hallway, the Ohio buyers clutched each other, telling me they'd sold their own home to downsize near grandchildren. Hearing their story made my situation feel less personal tragedy and more Category 5 screw-up with collateral strangers. I promised silently to make them whole. Inside the courtroom, Nate approached the bench with the swagger of a man who bills by the quarter hour. Opposing counsel attempted to defend the forgery by suggesting I'd granted verbal authorization. The judge arched a brow. "Are we in medieval times where oaths over campfires suffice?" he asked. Chalk went up for sarcasm on the bench. When the ruling came, it was swift. Sale nullified, funds frozen, a stern warning that further antics would invite criminal charges. I half expected confetti. The parking lot felt different afterward. The autumn air carried that crisp scent of turning leaves mixed with potential. Nate patted my shoulder and advised me to celebrate responsibly, meaning no emailing Melissa in all caps. I promised him, then immediately texted her a copy of the judgment with the single caption, "House says hi." Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Immeasurably. I drove to a supply store, bought the sturdiest deadbolt they carried, and spent the afternoon installing security cameras because betrayal turns anyone into a discount spy. While tinkering, I discovered Trent had painted the garage a pastel lavender. No offense to lavender, but my snowblower looked embarrassed. I snapped a photo, planning to auction the paint cans online under the listing title, "Very Temporary Life Choices." Court was set for Friday. That left 48 hours of limbo. I checked into a budget motel whose neon sign flickered like it was sending Morse code distress signals. Alone with complimentary single-use toothpaste, I reflected on marriage's fine print. Somewhere along the way, we'd turned intimacy into a diplomatic summit of compromise quotas. Maybe I'd stayed airborne to dodge hard talks. Maybe Melissa craved grounded certainty. Understanding motives didn't erase damage, but it kept me from marinating in one-note anger. Friday morning, Wearing my best, I did not just sleep on polyester sheet suit. I arrived at county court clutching Nate's 3-inch evidence binders. Across the aisle sat the buyers, a retired couple from Ohio who looked like they spoke only in polite apologies. They'd been duped, too. Melissa wasn't present. Nate said she'd fired her attorney after learning about the account freeze. As the judge reviewed forged signatures, he sighed like a dad pausing Saturday cartoons. In 15 minutes, the sale was rewound. The title boomeranged home, and the Ohio couple's earnest money redirected to them via court escrow. Even the bailiff looked satisfied. I called a locksmith, grabbed celebratory tacos, and drove to Sycamore Lane. The sun dipped low, staining clouds orange. My craftsman awaited. Lights off, porch empty. I parked. Engine ticking, chuckling at the absurdity of fighting harder for a house than for a marriage. Then I saw her. Melissa knelt on the sidewalk, jeans torn, hair wind-whipped, waffles by her side with a suitcase-sized chew toy. Her eyes were rimmed red. Mascara carved black tributaries down her cheeks. "Jack," she croaked. "I'm so sorry. Trent, he's gone. He said he didn't sign up for complicated energy. Please, can we talk?" Waffles whimpered, tail swishing between confusion and excitement. I crouched to pet him, heart lurching. He licked my hand like an overdue library apology. I glanced at Melissa. Her face carried every unspoken conversation, every lonely night she had scrolled social media while I chased status miles. Compassion wrestled indignation. I stood, dusting dog hair off my pants, and inhaled the cool Colorado twilight. "Melissa," I said, choosing words like a bomb squad, choosing wires. "You didn't just burn a bridge. You sold it without permission and tried to collect tolls." I gestured to the house. "This place is bricks and paint. What hurts is the shortcut." She clasped her hands, voice trembling. I panicked. "You were always gone," Trent said. "Trent sold mindfulness courses," I interrupted. "He'd tell a cactus it was dehydrated if he thought it would by alkaline water." A laugh escaped her despite tears. For one fragile second, we were ourselves again, joking at the world. But nostalgia is sugar glass. It shatters the moment you lean on it. "I can't undo the sale," she whispered. "I can't undo the text." "No," I agreed, "but you can return Waffles his stability." I scratched the dog's ears. "I'm keeping the house. You need to find yours." She nodded slowly, understanding the verdict. We sorted logistics like conference agendas. She'd stay with her sister in Phoenix, collect her things under Nate's supervision, and transfer her share of Waffles' vet records. There was no shouting, no dramatic thunderclap, just two people signing the final page. 2 days later, the movers returned my furniture. A plaster holes Trent had made for his wall-mounted crystal display. I repainted Melissa's home office accent wall a daring orange that would have made her throw a sample swatch at me. Waffles adjusted quickly. Dogs specialize in present tense. One evening, feeling the specter of loneliness slink around the hallway, I hosted a housewarming/divorce party. Nate, Gordon the banker, and a handful of neighbors cheered as I christened the repaired porch swing with a pitcher of lemonade spiked enough to violate HOA bylaws. Someone asked if I missed her. I answered honestly. I missed who we were 5 years ago, but that couple had moved out long before the for sale sign went up. Life resumed an offbeat rhythm. I committed to fewer flights, learned to actually see her steak, and planted a second cactus beside the original. Their spiky serenity felt therapeutic. Operation Boomerang concluded not with fireworks, but with a quiet awareness that survival is sometimes the best revenge. The house, reclaimed, felt lighter. Perhaps drywall remembers laughter more than arguments. Tonight, as I finish this tale, Waffles snores beside me, legs twitching in dreamland. I glance around at family photos still on the mantle, evidence that stories don't vanish, they evolve. Melissa hasn't called again, and I wish her healing because bitterness is just a carry-on we lug into future flights. I lock the door, set the lights to a triumphant gold, and pour a root beer into my favorite souvenir cup. Here's to new chapters, to cacti that thrive on neglect, and to learning that sometimes letting go isn't losing, it's finally coming home.